In this video, we're going to learn how to find the area and circumference of a circle. First, we're going to review some vocab words that we learned first semester. The first vocab word is radius. That's the distance from the center to the edge of a circle. So we look at this picture here. Here's the center of my circle to the edge. That is considered the radius. It is usually labeled with an R. Diameter is the distance from edge to edge through the center of a circle. Okay? So diameter goes all the way through. Radius is only from the center to the edge. Okay? So to find the area of a circle, we're going to use the formula area is equal to pi r squared. Pi is a constant term that you will type in a calculator, and r means radius, and we're going to be squaring it. Circumference of a circle, we have two options for a formula. Circumference can be 2 pi r, so 2 times pi times the radius of a circle. Or you can use pi times the diameter. We can do either one. If they give you diameter, it's probably easier to use the circumference equals pi times diameter formula. If we give you radius, it's easier to use 2 pi r. The other distinction we're going to have to read the directions to know are what is the difference between an exact answer and a rounded answer. So in an exact answer, we do not, I'm going to underline that, type pi in the calculator. Okay? Instead, we will be including it in our answer. We'll do examples to show you what that means. For rounded answers, we will type pi in the calculator, and we will round our answer. Because whenever you type pi in the calculator, you will get a number that goes on forever. So we will read the directions and figure out where we want to round. So let's look at some examples. So in this first set of examples, it says find the exact and rounded area, so we're looking for area, of each circle below. For rounded areas, they want it to the nearest hundredth. So let's look at number 1. So the area formula is area is equal to pi r squared. So r means radius. If I look at this circle, they gave me the radius from the center to the edge. It was 2 centimeters. So I'm going to replace the r in the formula with a 2 and square it. So they want exact and rounded. So I know I need to have 2 answers written here. So for exact, we said we do not type pi in the calculator, but we will include it in our answer. So what that means is, if I'm not typing pi in the calculator, the only thing left to type in is 2 squared. If you need to type that in, you would type in 2 to the second power, hit enter, you're going to get 4. And since pi was not typed in the calculator, it's still there, it doesn't disappear. So it's included in our answer, 4 pi. And since it's area, the units, in this case centimeters, are squared. We talked about area first semester. So the exact area of this circle is 4 pi centimeters squared. I typed in 2 squared to my calculator, and I kept pi in my answer since I did not type it in. For rounded, I'm going to type the whole thing in my calculator, pi times 2 squared. So to get pi on this calculator, and again, online calculators or your other calculators might have it in a different spot, but I'm going to hit second and then the caret key. So that's pi 2 squared. I'm going to hit enter, and I get this long decimal. The directions in our notes want us to round to the nearest hundredth. So that's 2 decimal places. So if I look, this 6 is in the hundredth spot, and to the right of it is another 6, which means this would bump it up. So the rounded area is approximately 12.57 centimeters squared. So exact, we don't type pi in the calculator, we include it in our answers. Rounded, we type the whole thing in the calculator and round to the nearest place that it asks us to do. Don't forget your units are squared for area. I'm going to skip ahead and look at number 3. Directions are the same, so I'm still using the area formula. Notice my formula again has R. In this case, it's different. Didn't give me R. They gave me the diameter. Diameter is the distance from edge to edge. Since I need a radius, I need to take this diameter and cut it in half. So I'm going to cut 30 in half to get a radius of 15. Okay, because radius is half that distance. The radius is from the center to the edge. So 15 is what I'm going to plug in. So for exact, it's going to be pi times 15 squared. Remember, you don't type pi in the calculator for this. We're just going to type in 15 squared to get 225. So the exact area is 225. Don't forget pi, because you didn't type it in the calculator, it's still there. And then units, millimeters squared. For the rounded answer, the same formula, pi times 15 squared, but now I will type the whole thing in my calculator. And since it still wants me to round to the nearest hundredth, it's going to be 706.86 millimeters squared. So there was an example of finding the exact and rounded area given a radius, an exact and rounded area given the diameter. Now let's look at how we would do that for circumference. So the directions for circumference say to find the exact and rounded circumference of each circle below. And now for rounded, they want it to the nearest tenth. So that's only going to be 1 decimal place. So we'll start with number 1. So there's 2 formula options for circumference, 2 pi r or pi times diameter. You could use either one for any problem. It doesn't matter. It's easier to use pi times diameter when they give you diameter, and it's easier to use 2 pi r when they give you the radius. But again, you can use either formula for any problem as long as you adjust and plug in the right number. So since this gives me the diameter, I'm going to use circumference as pi times diameter. So for exact answer, circumference is equal to pi. Since they give me the diameter, that's the distance all the way across, diameter is 9.2. Now for exact answers, we don't type pi in the calculator. So the only thing we have is 9.2. We're not squaring it, we're not doing anything else to it. So our exact answer, you always put the number before pi. So it would be 9.2 pi kilometers. That's our exact answer. Okay. For rounded, same formula, pi times 9.2, but I would type that in my calculator. So I would type in pi times 9.2, and since this one wanted to the nearest tenth, 0 would make that 9 stay a 9. So the circumference here, rounded, would be about 28.9 kilometers. Okay. Now I'm going to skip and do number 3. So number 3, they give me a radius instead of the diameter. I could still use the pi times diameter formula, but it is easier in this case to use the 2 pi r formula. So for the exact answer, you would write 2 pi and the radius they give me is 6. Since for exact answers you're not typing pi in, the only numbers we have to multiply then are 2 times 6. So 2 times 6 is 12. You didn't type pi in the calculator, so it must stay in your answer because it doesn't disappear. And your units. I didn't mention this on the first one, but for circumference, we're not doing units squared. That's only for area. All right, circumference is a distance. It's the distance around a circle. So that's why it is just units. For area, I didn't mention this earlier, area is the amount of space the circle takes up, amount of two-dimensional space. And that's why the units are units squared. So circumference, if we want to go back up here, because I forgot to write it, that is the distance around a circle. Okay, and area is the amount of space the circle occupies.